Hey there, Toonami faithful, and welcome back aboard Toonami Absolution, where we talk about the shows that made us us and the shows that made you you. We are your hosts. My name is Alex.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John, and we're wrapping up season 2 of Space Ghost with a triple header. Yes, we thought one episode on its own would be a bit silly. So we have Sleeper from July 28th, 95, Jerk from August 18, 1995, and Urges from October 20th, 1995.
So,
No good guests at all.
Also, Sleeper is it's such a weird episode because it feels like it should be a new season.
Yeah.
Like, because we start with like a cold open with them all in a diner, sort of reintroducing all the characters and the concept. It feels like that should be a new season.
it might have been. It just might be a home video branding thing of kind of lump. Oh, okay.
No,
All right.
no, not from what I can tell. It's everywhere. It's one of the rare ones that's always listed in the same place. It's always listed as a season 2.
Okay. Okay. Well, there that
You know,
goes.
I am starting to believe there must have been something from Cartoon Network that led to these seasons being these weirdly structured.
It's almost like I think it's a budget thing. It's like we have enough money. Let's do a season.
Let's do 6 episodes, 2 of which are not actually episodes.
We have
Yeah.
we have some money. We have some open time in the broadcast schedule. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We have some Canadian kids hosts.
I do feel like that is one of the things. These episodes feel like they have things where they're trying to bloat the runtime a bit because the guests maybe aren't as engaging as they had hoped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these are all longer than previous by about 2 or 3 minutes each.
Also true.
they're a little longer. They have a little bit more quote unquote internal story, and then the guests are just not
Shit.
great. Like they're not carrying anything. Like I was shocked at how bad some of them were. Like I feel bad for making fun of some of the ones I made fun of earlier.
I mean, is the worst of the bunch Slash for these 3 episodes? Who
I mean, he
very
quit.
who audibly is like, I can't do this.
Yeah, to be fair, I would argue Hogan is slightly worse because Hogan's half of Hogan's job is meant to be cutting promos, and he can't seemingly do it here.
It's because of all the cocaine.
He seems to be checked out. He's like game for it. He's like showing off the belt. He's
He's high
commenting on
as a
Zorak's skin.
Yeah, the Hogan one is now funnier in retrospect because there's a lot of lines that I forgot. Hogan starts his interview by making a racist Japanese voice. Um,
that was weird.
yeah, it's like, oh Hulk, you never changed, not even for the better. Yeah, Hulk is definitely so. WCW Hulk was a WCW at the time. This was a big WCW was Turner.
Yeah.
So what same network Space Ghost? They were very heavily trying to push them over WWF at this point. So I get the feeling Hogan was definitely a Turner mandated thing. There's a lot of Ted Turner jokes in here for that reason. And Ted Turner famously was very fond of wrestling. He didn't enjoy it, but it was cheap to make.
I mean, there's a whole thing about WC. We could talk for a while about the rise and fall of WCW in the mid to late 90s. Um,
Space Ghost wasn't on WCW somehow, which I thought would have happened at least once.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chucky the Doll was, but Space Ghost not.
When you get a chance, look up the Shockmaster. That's like
Oh, good old Shockmaster.
I hate that as a name. Hate that. Genuinely. Dislike
Well,
it.
well, don't worry. The hate will be repaid by him falling through a wall.
Okay,
yes.
all right. You know what? I'll
Yeah,
take
he
that.
doesn't come off well. He's the most laughable thing probably. A legally distinct stormtrooper helmet. There's a bunch of stuff that's going on.
Him and the Black Scorpion, whose power was basic magic tricks. Yeah, there's just weird because Hogan is here also promoting Thunder in Paradise, which was his one-season TV show, which is a night boat. It is Knight Rider, but it's a boat. And as I've
And I
joked
got a
before,
Sega CD game.
it did, which is the unreleased episodes put to a QuickTime event thing. Same engine as the Power Rangers game, which was just the first 3 episodes of Power Rangers altogether. And the
Yeah.
Kamen Rider Zeo game, which was Kamen Rider Zeo, just with QuickTime events. Oh,
Everything had a Sega CD game.
Yeah, if I had known we were going down the Sega CD pipeline, I would have showed off my copy of Bram Stoker's, and maybe John can put the edit in there. The Bram Stoker's Dracula for Sega CD. The game over screen is just Keanu Reeves screaming.
I will try
Awesome.
and I'll try and find that. Yeah, no, there's only one man who didn't have a Sega CD game, and that was Eugene Levy, because his was on the Philips CDI.
Oh, Yeah, obviously the thing that was going to win out over HD DVD.
Even Robert Mapplethorpe had a CDI game, by the way.
I love that game. It's it's great. Um, Thunder in Paradise is really funny because it's terrible, but also I mentioned this before we started. There's a couple of episodes that try and play into sort of like the Red Scare, that the villains are communists. There's a whole episode where they try and kidnap Fidel Castro,
Yeah.
and Fidel Castro is played by a man who has never seen what Fidel Castro looks like in his life. It is just a dude with a beard. It's like it's cat. Really, no one could go like get a book.
To point this out, this is like the late 90s at this point. The Cold War had officially been over since 91. Like,
Yeah, I mean the wall's down, Soviet Union's dismantled. I mean, we'll talk about Putin when we get to Putin, but
there's McDonald's in Moscow.
yeah.
Oh, but you need to send a boat over to shoot people. And is it Jack Lemmon? No, this son, whatever his son's name is. His son's the other guy in Thunder in Paradise. He didn't get his dad's talent.
Huh. John Limes.
Yeah. Yeah, Slash is here promoting It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere by Slash's Snake Pit, which is a really, really funny album.
Yeah. Haha.
No, because it's because what it was is all the guys from Guns N' Roses apart from Axl Rose, because they made an album. Axl Rose hated it, so they went, okay, we're also going to go and make this album then, and you stay over there. It was in that period before Chinese democracy, where it's like, yeah, okay. So Slash starts this side project. Where it's basically the No Axl Rose Club.
Yeah, it's kind of like all the members of Yellow Card forming a band that doesn't include Ryan Key.
It's not a great album, but it is just funny just to imagine that conversation of like, yeah, no, okay. Sorry, Axl. Bye-bye. Go
Axl,
hire Buckethead.
Okay. I feel like, okay, I guess I'm going to take my recognizable guitar talent and go over there.
For my solo album, that will be somehow worse. Yeah, we do get one nice callback, though. We get a reference to Banjo, because why Ted Turner will no longer allow us to have pets on set.
Oh, Banjo.
Oh, yeah. Banjo, you were the best. Best of us and the worst of us.
Best of us. But yeah, no, watching Slash just full on have a diva meltdown during that is like, it's kind of crazy to me that it made it to print. Like, just how insanely bad that was.
Especially with the commentary from a couple of weeks ago where they were talking about Alice Cooper and how like they clearly were trying to make Alice Cooper look good in the edit. It's amazing. Slash must have been absolutely terrible for them to go, actually, you know what? We're just going to leave this in. We're not even going to try and make Space Ghost. We're not even going to like justify it by having Space Ghost roll you up or something.
No, they just keep the camera on him. I love that he's just kind of there in an empty studio for our credits roll.
Because like even the Hogan one at the start, they're like, oh, Hogan's clearly not getting enough oxygen. Like they make a joke of how incomprehensible he is. Slash is like, no, we're gonna let you roll.
Yeah.
We're just gonna let you look bad.
Yeah. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Like he's quitting in the middle of it. It's so crazy.
It's not a quiet quit. It's just it's a vocal quit.
It's so weird because he's another guy you think would be all right at this. Like
it's also everything that's going around Slash, the demise of Guns N' Roses, this like solo album. I mean, it's not the best time to be Slash, I don't think.
The crash out is really severe right now. Like he just lost that pentakill in League of Legends, and man, is his wireless mouse going to suffer for it.
But I think this is actually a couple of years so he started making his signature guitars. So yeah, before he could just rely on the marketing, but the licensing fees.
Yeah, I don't think he has his own brand of alcohol at this point.
No, he definitely didn't have that.
He'll get there. He'll get there eventually. We all will.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
To be fair, it's funny. The highlight of this episode for me was Moltar's skating comment about two girls. He had a whole thing about a skater and having a couple skate, but two girls can't skate together. Then adding two boys can't skate together. Well, yes, that was improvised. That's just a piece from a Moltar's voice actor just telling an anecdote, and that just got put in. So that's how desperate they were for content for this episode. They were literally just putting in. It's a very funny anecdote and delivered very well. But it's like, oh, we're just leaving this in. Like,
yeah.
I mean, there's also Brack.
Brack does turn up to say Brack.
Yeah.
I am getting the feeling Brack seems to be when a guest goes too short, we bring out the Brack.
Well, you have to. So Brack is kind of. One, I'll be straight up with you, and all due respect to Andy Merrill, I've never been the biggest Brack guy. He got his speaking to the appeal of the era and kind of the loudness of comedy in the 90s, he did get his own spin-off.
He did, and it didn't last very long, thank heavens.
Brack is like, to me, Brack is like the early symptoms of what I call, and this is not derogatory because I was this girl, the Invader Zim tank top generation. Which, what I mean to say is, you all knew that one girl who had the Invader Zim tank top and the fingerless striped gloves and the three belts too many. Brack comedy was for that girl.
Yeah. He's nice in small though. He gets really exposed in the Brat Show stuff where it's just like he's not funny, but he needs someone to bounce off. And he only in very small though. He's a good way to set something in motion, but you can't have him carry a story. So he's kind of fine here because of that, because he annoys Space Ghost a little bit, and that starts Space Ghost going a bit wonky.
And they just bounce off each other well. And though that voice had to hurt like hell to do. Like when I listening to the way the Brack voice works is like that sounds like you're getting nodes on your vocal cords as we speak.
It really does sound like a bad one. Yeah, Jerk doesn't improve at the next episode because Jerk is again. We're going back into the talk show parody more again with Jerk. Like we bring in the audience who are all Zoraks, including a callback to Raymond, where they're like, "Oh, we were going to eat him anyway," which was the highlight.
Mm.
Well, yeah, we get Sandra Bernhard, who's a stand-up comedian, comic actress in a lot of stuff, and we get B. Palmer Mills, who is the best guest.
He is the best guest. Like I did forget to mention.
Of this set, yeah.
Do you know who B. Palmer Mills is?
Does he have a
hardware store guy?
Hardware store guy.
No, it's not actually the actual answer. That's what they bill him as. He's Barry Mills' father. Barry Mills, the creator of the Rudy and Go-Go world-famous cartoon show, and Mike Lazo's roommate at this current period. Oh. So it's just Lazo's roommate's dad.
It's awesome.
Which, again, tells you something when this guy's dad, who isn't really this is his only credit, he's not like a comedian, does better than Slash and Hulk Hogan.
I like the setup of Jerk where freaking Space Ghost is just being kind of an asshole the entire time, and everybody's just saying like, "Hey, stop being a dick." Like I kind of enjoyed that a lot.
It's fun.
Heel turn Ghost.
It's fun to see everyone clowning on him. I really like that, and I like the call-in gag where we get Space Ghost's evil twin, and him getting angry. No calls for him. That whole gag is just really nicely done. But again, it's so obvious how clearly we're working around having. I guess Sandra Bernhard's interview wasn't that long. B. Palmer Mills, I'm not sure. He feels like we had to fill a gap, so let's get Mike Lazo's dad in.
It's a good joke. It's a really good joke.
I was very confused when he did his thing. I was like, okay, is this like a John Shuttleworth situation where it's like a comedian whose character is I'm playing someone's dad? No, because he does much better. He plays straight really well. I like him like listing off ways to kill Zorak.
Well, you see what you got to do here is like it's a weirdly good chemistry putting this just normal guy in this room and he just crushes it.
Like him and Moltar talking about going fishing at the end. It's like, oh, we're still on for fishing this weekend. It's really nice. This episode is interesting because it's 17 minutes long, so it does get cut down in reruns, and they cut out all of Sandra Bernhard's interview.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which actually makes it a better episode, in my opinion. No offense to Sarah Bernhard, but the joke of her never being ready is much funnier than her being ready near the end. I like the joke of like we're constantly cutting to her back in makeup. I think that just works so nicely.
Is she ready yet?
There must have been like that interview must not have like this is we're front loading our season with quality and like there just must not have been that much salvageable content or footage from the Sandra Bernhard segment.
Well, what's weird is that they must have liked this one. So I do wonder with Bernhard if that was a deliberate thing because she is a comedian, she's a stand-up, she's in that New York scene, so she probably knows these guys. But yeah, this was like the final part of the Space Ghost syndication special they did when they combined 3 episodes together for basic cable. So they must have liked this. They must have liked this episode to include it. So Yeah, it does make me wonder if that was a deliberate gag of like, okay, we're going to bring you on, but you're never going to be done.
Mm.
Like I could kind of see that being a deliberate gag, especially if they knew they were bringing in, your roommate's dad to be part of it. Like if there was the knowledge of roommate's dad, like that seems like a solid setup.
And here it does flow into the idea that because her not being ready forces Space Ghost to take more calls, forcing him to take more calls leads to him getting more. That episode does have like this really nice through line of nothing goes right, forcing Space Ghost to get more and more irate. So yeah.
Like I could see this being planned.
Yeah. What do we think of our season finale?
Certainly doesn't feel like a season finale.
It doesn't, not even a little bit. Like I actually was like, are we sure we're done?
I mean, the underlying, through line is that it's mating season, and I guess Zorak is in heat.
Zorak is horny. That is the comedy.
Zorak is horny. That is the comedy. And I do like Moltar being like, you do know that your head's gonna get bitten off of your body, right?
Yeah, you may notice this feels a bit different, and that's because of one of the co-writers. This was co-written by Joel Hodgson from Mystery Science Theater 3000. He'll appear next season, but you'll realise this explains the entire first section, because the bit at the start where Zorak is zooming in on different people, that's a parody of TV sitcom That Girl from 1966. So that's why the music is different here. That's a parody of the That Girl theme. Zorak in a wig is the lead character. And the kite at the end, we have this weird kite. That's the That Girl logo. And the second I heard Joel was like, oh, okay, that explains it, because Joel, you know a lot about 60s sitcoms.
That's really cool. It was a weird one. It is a weird one with Zorak, and of course the whole, well, Zorak, have you ever done this before? Of course I have, plenty of times. Whatever. Shut up.
And then turns out he meets a male mantis who takes him back to help him get through the urge by watching sports and eating barbecue.
Yeah, and resisting the urge so that he can keep his head. I like that there's a resistance cell apparently on Zorak's home planet to resist the urge to mate and thus keep their skulls.
Explains why Zorak is so angry.
Yeah, it's pent up. He's got yeah.
We do get two weird guests on this episode. We get Catherine Back, who is known for the Dukes of Hazzard. He was Daisy Duke, and African Skies, which they reference a lot in here, which ended the year before. They don't do much for her, but Matthew Sweet is a singer-songwriter he would have been here promoting the album 100% Fun, except he wasn't, because this wasn't filmed for Space Ghost. All of the segments for Matthew Sweet are from the Banana Split story, a fake documentary about the Banana Splits released in 1995.
I love the Banana Splits.
Yeah, this is why it all doesn't really sync up that well, because he wasn't recording for this at all. Hence why you get the weird Space Ghost stuff of him playing the harmonica through different bits.
The harmonica actually made me laugh really hard. I don't know why. It really just got me.
It's because we cut to off-model Space Ghost when he's blowing and the hand is moving as a separate piece. It's so
which is the Adult Swim, at least early Adult Swim standard with C-Lab and stuff. The superimposed
static motion.
Yeah.
I think it works a lot better here because Matthew Sweet's lines are just weird enough that you can easily give Space Ghost jokes based off them, which I quite like.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. Genuinely, I wouldn't have known.
It also makes sense because Banana Splits, it's a Hanna-Barbera property, like Space Ghost.
Everything is connected.
Yeah.
Oh, it's part of the SGU, the Space Ghost universe.
I do like that Moltar has that abbreviation for Space Ghost. Oh, SG, just kind of. I like that kind of familiarity there.
Oh,
hey, SG.
Talking of Space Ghost universe, can we just cycle back? In Jerk, we finally see the teens. They call into Space Ghost. He tells them to go away.
Go away!
It's amazing because you think we have animation of those. Why aren't we using that animation? There's at least 16 frames there. That's 12 whole episodes.
12 whole episodes with our teenagers. I think they do show up in a later season of Space Ghost.
I think they show up next season.
Trio. Yeah, I think the Galaxy Trio show up sporadically.
Every now and then, the kids come calling, Dad.
Yeah.
I think it's because they actually have like human proportions, so it's much harder to sync up their lip flaps with new dialogue. Yeah. Versus like Moltar doesn't have any lips. Space Ghosts are always kind of over the top, and Zorak is Zorak.
Zorak is basically a Jim Henson puppet.
Speaking of like doctoring like existing footage and art, I do love the imagery of Space Ghost with his eyes closed, which is to just say darkness.
Yeah, they just colored them
Just
in.
like nothing at the top.
Close
Actually,
your eyes.
my favorite is that when Chelsea always closes her eyes and the screen goes dark, we hear comical noises open back up and nothing has happened. I quite like that. It's like, budget. Talking of recycled animation, this episode would be recycled later on as well. A lot of the animation from this was used for a series of Brazil-only TV specials, where Space Ghost interviewed various footballers.
Oh.
And the
Please
image...
tell me you have the clips.
I
Please
have, but they are in Spanish. So they're about this in Spanish, a language I don't speak, and about football, a sport I don't particularly care for. So I'm probably not going to have very much to say. But eventually we will have to do a Space Ghost ephemera episode for some of this stuff. This again, also the Zorak reading the TV guide was recycled 2 or 3 times. It's used as linking footage in the Planetarium tour. It's used in the syndication special, I believe. They got a lot of use out of Zorak and that TV guide. I think it's used in a couple of the adverts as well.
Yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah, if something is worth using once, it's worth using 6 times.
Hey, animation is expensive, okay? Especially old animation that we already own that we're not going to use more than a couple of times.
Yeah, these animation cells don't come cheap, even though they're in the Warner Archive and we're technically a Warner Brothers production.
Yeah.
But that takes time and effort.
It takes time and effort, and Adobe Photoshop doesn't work like that yet.
Yeah.
That is a lot of it's like, yeah. Like nowadays, this would all be really easy, but back then it was again, they said in the one commentary, it took 2 years to make the first season of Space Ghost.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying to think of because you could do that in Blender in about a couple of weeks these days.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, yeah, now you could just shove it into Blender and just have it spat back out at you.
But you still couldn't make Slash interesting.
I actually feel sorry for Slash because he doesn't want to be there. Catherine Bach, Hulk Hogan, they're just kind of like along for the ride without being particularly engaging.
Hulk Hogan doesn't know where he is during this interview. I am so genuinely convinced that he is either on something or maybe he is out of oxygen during this because it made no sense.
I mean, it's Hulk Hogan. You can say he was on something and be right 98% of the time from age 4 onwards.
This is also like 90s Hogan. He's fresh off fresh on the WCW contract. He's flush. How do you celebrate?
He's flush and they don't drug test.
Yeah.
You gotta, enjoy some of that Bolivian marching powder while you can.
That was probably part of his WCW contract. Just like, you're not going to check because you got Hollywood Hogan now.
No, famously, he was hired by Turner, not WCW, which was legally was rumored to be a way to get him around the drug testing.
I need an entire bowl of the devil's dandruff ready for me before I do anything.
I'll still go over though. Yeah, I think the thing with the Hulk Hogan is you see him do like his old thing of like, oh, kids shouldn't do wrestling moves.
Yeah.
Which and Space Ghost reacts that in a way that makes me feel like I don't think Hogan knew he was on an adult show. It reminds me a little bit of what George Lowe was saying about Donny Osmond previously. It's like, we could never get him to be dirty. I get the feeling they were having the same thing with Hogan here, where it's like, we cannot get him to treat this like a show for grown-ups. So we're going to leave his kid stuff in and then just have Space Ghost mock him. It is interesting about the fact this episode is called Sleeper. Because Hogan famously knocked out a journalist on a talk show by choking him.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, the guy was like, wrestling's fake, right? So Hogan did the one thing he could do, which is put him in a sleeper and knocked him flat unconscious. It's a very funny clip. But I get the feeling that's what they were kind of aiming for. The idea was going to be, Space Ghost and Hogan are going to get angry with each other, and it's going to end with some kind of fight. Kind of was what you'd think, but no, he just wasn't having any of it.
Hulk Hogan, the Florida man from which all other Florida men are cut.
He does comment on his tan.
He does comment. He is from California.
Oh, I really genuinely thought he was from Florida.
Oh, he says I'm from California midway through his interview, and it's just apropos of nothing as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, also, you move to Florida when you don't want to pay income tax anymore.
Yes.
That is true.
Hulk Hogan wants to pay income tax, brother, but Terry Bollea doesn't pay income tax. That's the problem. Yeah, oh god, I'm going to bring up while we have some time. Very famously, Hogan tried to get out of a lawsuit once by arguing something he said that was slanderous was said by Hulk Hogan, not Terry Bollea. And as Hulk Hogan doesn't exist, you can't sue Hulk Hogan.
I mean, he doesn't exist anymore.
Good.
I mean,
Talking of man who ruined their legacy.
Yeah, he's actually me and Hulkster have the same birthday.
I thought it was going to be something much worse there for a brief second.
the exact same, like the same day, same month.
Yes, same year too. I just age very well.
Mazel tov. Me and Leonard Nimoy also have the same birthday. I too
Nice.
age very well.
How were the 60s?
Oh man, if I could remember past all the LSD and the shrooms, I would tell you.
You can remember the original Space Ghost.
Yeah.
I remember the original Space Ghost.
Now I'm just thinking there must have been like a granddad who saw Space Ghost on television, sits his kids down, this is the cartoon I watched when I was a kid, and he gets this. It's like, I don't remember Space Ghost being so angry.
Yeah, he wasn't a talk show host. He had a ship.
Actually, I like that he's finding the thing out. It's Zorak. Like, Zorak didn't play the piano.
Yeah.
Zorak didn't play the piano.
Yeah, we didn't get Zorak playing like funeral marches, but he does here.
He does here. So I love the crowd of Zoraks because they're all the same animation, just different speeds. It's so fun. It's the cheapest, laziest way to do it, but also the funniest way to do it.
Yeah, some have wigs pasted on their animation cells.
And the wig doesn't move when the rest of them does. Oh, it's so nice.
It's low budget in the best possible way of being low budget, where it's so purposeful,
I think you can sort of get a hint of that at the very start of the first episode, because the whole bit with them in the diner is clearly an asset from somewhere. It's a much lower quality, and the haiku bit is seemingly deliberately written around the fact that we don't have many mouth movements. Yeah. It's like, this is really saving. Again, leads you to think, maybe these interviews are meant to go longer, but last minute we have to shove something in. What's the cheapest thing we can do? Space Ghost saying a haiku.
What's the line again? What's your favorite haiku, or can you say or something to that?
What's your favorite haiku? Yeah.
Then they're arguing about space. Because I think it's a new one because they're like, so you got space. How many more shows do I have to do? Have you read the script? I do have a script.
Read any good haikus lately? That's it.
That's it.
I need to remember that. That's going to be the icebreaker.
on your next date.
Yeah.
Read any good haikus lately?
I kind of want to go up to someone at a bar and just drop that now. And see how quickly I get arrested.
It snows on Mount Fuji.
Oh, dear.
Count the syllables. So, I mean, here we are. Not to. Well, yeah, go for it, Alyx. I know what you're going for.
I was gonna lead us into final thoughts, but you had a thought before final thoughts, so
I was going to basically steal your thunder and be like, final thoughts time.
You jerk.
We're going full Space Ghost. We're messing with the format.
We're messing with the format. Final thoughts. Go.
This has been the going back to season 2. Still a lot of my favorite episodes in the series come from season 2, Donny Osmond, stuff like that. Much to David Byrne's expense. But I think this is the season where the show becomes the show that we know, right down to the Brack appearances. As for this final set of episodes, I mean, it really is a front-loaded. Well, it's not even a front-loaded season because they have the what a cartoon, not what a cartoon, and the
house.
Show. So it's like a middle-loaded. Yeah, it's a middle-loaded
trilogy of a season. Like the first and the third are okay, but that middle section is the.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is such a weird season. Like, there's a lot of good here, but you're in this weird kind of nether realm where we're still partially in season 1, where we're still doing the talk show stuff and we're still struggling for guests. Like, you can clearly tell this season has a little mix of people who are like Weird Al, who are definitely here for the jokes, and other people who are here because Turner put a gun to their head and said, talk or else. And yeah, these 3 episodes are not a strong way to end a season, but they're also pretty. It's hard to say because these episodes have really good jokes in them, but the episodes overall are just not the way to present those jokes. Like I love Sleeper, I love the intro, I love the with urges, I love the overarching plot, I love the having the fake call-ins. It definitely feels like the show is transforming, and there's going to have to be a point where they finally have to make that cut between are we doing the talk show parody anymore, or is Space Ghost going to become just a sketch show where we kind of go away with that. I think episodes like this sort of show that they are struggling to square that circle, because honestly, if you remove all but one guest from these 3 episodes, you end up with 3 better episodes. Like Hogan and Slash add nothing. These are good episodes. I just really, you can tell that they're struggling to work out where the show is going, which, at least is an interesting season, but it's a season that does feel like it's a season just for the sake of home media rather than a season. I don't think there's been a break here. Feels like this is just an arbitrary cutoff for where one starts and one begins. But it's Space Ghost. Again, everything being 20 minutes means you don't ever... Even a bad Space Ghost episode with one good joke is enough to be enjoyable because it's 20 minutes long.
If that.
Yeah, I feel the same way about this season. I feel like you're right. Space Ghost knows what like the core of it is, but it hasn't really found an identity yet in how it wants to present everything. So sometimes it's the talk show, sometimes it's the sketches, sometimes it's trying to be both. Other times the guests have given them so much nothing, and there's like you don't have any backup stuff that they have to roll with it. And you can tell that a lot of the brilliance of this comes out of those moments where it's like, well, we don't have the budget to get anybody else in here, so we need to make this work in some way. Let's start getting creative. And I can appreciate that. I'm very excited for more Space Ghost because I have been having the best time on this memory lane. But this also does mean, Sam, and I am sorry, that means that next time we go back to Beast Wars.
Which I think is the season as long as season 1, or is it shorter?
Season 2 is longer, I think.
Oh.
It's One Piece season 1 length.
Yeah, it's One Piece season 1,
1,100 episodes. Okay.
1,100 episodes in season 1. Season 2 is going to be 12.
Yeah, just kind of see me progressively get stir crazy.
Basically, what we're learning is Space Ghost walks so One Piece can run. Space Ghost season 1, 12 episodes. Space Ghost season 2, 9.
Nobody ever talks about, Ichiro Oda just binging Space Ghost coast to coast, but I think it's an important part of its legacy.
He was like, it's like if that man could stretch, I would love him.
If we could make him stretchy, that's it. Game over. Yeah. They're exactly the same show. You just have to watch it the correct way.
Yeah. Fake fans out there.
Yeah. God, that's not going to make anybody upset.
Luffy's interview with Richard Nixon really was the highlight of that one arc.
Honestly, I think that changed American journalism forever.
Luffy Nixon.
Yeah.
Luffy Nixon.
Especially when he goes Gear 3 on him. Yeah, it's a wild development.
But Nixon unleashing the dragon, that really was unexpected. It came out of a Quaker Oats can and everything. That does mean that we've pulled into our final destination. That's right. It is time for us to disembark from Toonami Absolution. We want to thank you once again for talking with us about the shows that made us, and the shows that made you, including One Piece. Once again, we have been your hosts. My name is Alyx.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John.
And we'll see you next time. Gum Gum Pistol.